All right. Welcome back to another episode, ladies and gentlemen. I am Josuè, and today I'm with my great friend Kevin.
What's going on, guys? How are y'all
Kevin,
doing?
how you feeling, Kevin?
Jay, I'm very honored
Um,
and blessed to be here, and I'm thankful that you allowed me to be on
I-
your podcast today.
Shout out. I
Thank you, man.
really like the fact that you hit me up and you're like, after watching your first video, I really want to go get on your podcast. And I was like, you know what? We need to make time for that. We definitely need to make time for that. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you fitting me in so quickly into the
like
schedule,
that. I
man.
like that.
That's
I
that's
like
a
that.
great thing.
So yes, everybody. If you before we start the show or the podcast, I should say, first thing first. Remember, subscribe, like this video, and also do follow us on Instagram. I just started an Instagram page. It is the podcast itself. Our Daily Bread podcast on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. And you wanna give a shout?
Man, you can check me out on Instagram at d.kev or my fitness page tfg.kev.
I like that. I like that. All right, let's get into this. This is gonna be just, by the way, there is no script. All right, we are just gonna
We're
flow.
winging it.
We're winging it,
We're
basically.
winging it, man.
You and I are just winging it today. And first and foremost, I know you're graduating, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Man, I'm very, very grateful. Completed my college degree in undergrad in exercise science, and just to complete it in 3 years at a university is just such a blessing, man.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. From freshman all the way to graduation, senior. Yeah. That's really great. So tell me about your college experience. Like, how was that like for you?
My college experience, was amazing, honestly. The amount of people I've met, love the people like yourself and everything is just, truly spectacular. And the education obviously is great. And then just being able to be a college athlete as well, was a cherry on top. There's ups and downs, like, life in general, but truly a wonderful experience.
Okay. So what are you planning to do now that after you've graduated?
So after I graduate, this summer I'll be working and, intern a little bit.
Okay.
But then this coming school year, I'm actually going to be going for a master's in MBA, so master's in business.
All the best.
And also continuing the basketball career. So
all
I'm
the
very
best,
Kev.
All the best. Look
Yes,
at you.
Sir.
Stay shining, man.
Hey,
Stay
man,
shining.
That's right. It's all God, man.
Stay shining. God. Right. Speaking about God, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you watched my first video, right?
Yes,
you
sir.
saw my first video. But before that, you and I knew each other.
Yeah.
Right? And we always greet each other on campus, And it's only recently that I noticed, because I started following you on Instagram, that I noticed that, Kev just gave his life to the Lord.
Yeah.
You want to touch a little bit on that?
Yeah.
A little bit on that?
Man, so got baptized a few weeks ago, and truly was the greatest decision of my life. And that was definitely a long time coming. First time ever getting baptized. I was not baptized as a child, nor grew up in like a church household and everything. They supported the idea of Jesus and everything. You know.
Wait. So let's rewind a little bit, because I want to actually do step by step. So you said you grew up in
not a church household.
Not a church household.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about the household you grew up
in. So I got two wonderful parents. Mom and dad, shout out to them. They did an amazing job.
Shout out to the parents.
And my older sister Kate, shout out to her as well. And grew up in a loving, caring environment. Supporting whatever I wanted to do. So I'm very, very grateful and recognize the gift that is in it of itself.
That's true.
But growing up, wasn't super big on faith or anything, and that's fine. I'm kind of grateful with the way my walk with God went, because I found it on my own. And not necessarily on my own, but He just planted the right seeds at the right time in my life, so people could guide me down the right path and get me to where I am today, and help continue to get me to where I need to go.
Nice. So how long would you say, like you said you found it on your own, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a friend who was like, hey, would you want to come to church? Or it was just you were curious?
So I had always believed in God. I believed that Jesus was Lord. But I never acted upon it. I didn't believe it. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to actually live it. Yeah. And so at William Patterson, just through other friends and stuff, I got introduced to my friend Nate. And Nate actually went ahead and invited me to Bible study. He, asked me questions about my faith and everything. He's been like my big brother in Christ ever since.
Shout
Even
out to
though,
Nate.
yeah, so he's led me so far in my walk with faith, and I'm so glad God put him in my life.
Wow,
Such a
that's
gentle and kind man. So
that's beautiful. So prior to you, right, giving your life to Christ, so prior to even becoming a believer,
yeah,
did you have any like perspective, or did you have any idea of like Christianity or the Christians themselves? Because that's also another
yeah,
conversation, because you were obviously, you were new to this, right? You fresh, you just starting your walk. Did you have a certain mindset?
mm,
Because people in today's day and age, everyone says they have a certain idea of
yeah,
the Christians of today
yeah.
and how Christians are today. So I'd actually like to get your view on that.
Yeah, so it's funny actually. Growing up, each summer I used to go away to like this 2 week sleepaway camp for like it was all boys. It was an all boys camp. It was a Christian camp, but
Okay.
I wasn't going for the Christian aspect. I was going for summer camp.
Yeah.
I was introduced to the Bible a little bit, and the importance of God and the, Jesus and everything, but never really stuck with me.
Okay.
And even when I started getting introduced to my faith and everything, and finding my way. I would actually always tell people um, not to call me a Christian, but to actually call me a man of God.
Okay.
And my belief behind that was the fact that I was still had a common perspective. I think in today's society is that Christians they don't care about certain populations of people.
Yeah.
They're very hypocritical, and they're
Okay.
also more to themselves.
More
They're
to themselves.
selfish.
Yeah.
And that's false, upon learning that. But
Mm-hmm.
but that was my reasoning behind don't call me a Christian, call me a
Call me
man
a
of
man of
God.
God. I
And
like
then
that.
and then on top of that too, you know, once I got even more into my faith, I actually kind of flipped, and it was more so don't call me a Christian because I don't even feel like I deserve that
Wow.
title.
That's beautiful right there. Yeah.
So
It's funny that you actually say that, because growing up, I remember people used to always ask, what religion do you practice?
mm,
And I would say, I don't practice a religion, because, like you say,
yeah,
religion is a practice, and I don't believe in practicing a religion. I'm not big on practicing any form of religion. I'm more like relationship based.
wow,
So I always used to tell people that I'm in a relationship, just like how anyone would say they're in a relationship with their brother, the relationship they have with their brother, the relationship they have with their sister. That's more so the kind of relationship I saw it with my God. I was like, this for me is not a practice, it's a relationship.
yeah,
The more I go to him, or the closer I get to him, the more I know him. It's the same thing with our parents, or with anybody, our friends. The more you spend time with your friends, the closer you get with your friends, and the more you get to know them. The less time you spend with them, it's like, okay, now you wonder why you don't know your friend. It's same thing, same concept, same principle. I've always thought same principle also applies when it came to God. The more time we spend with
hmm
him, the more we get to know him, and the stronger our relationship becomes, and the more we build our relationship. So when you speak about that, about how you used to tell people don't call me that, or it goes down to like relationship.
hmm
Because a lot of people, you speak about how Christians are kind of like was this hypocrites and stuff like that. It goes down to, I would always say it always goes down to the relationship, because even now you say, oh wow, I'm not even worthy. It also goes down to you understanding your relationship with God and saying, wow, he's amazing, he's absolutely amazing, and I feel like I'm not even worthy for you to even to say I'm in a relationship with him. But that's what he wants. That's grace. And that's actually beautiful. That's really beautiful that you actually mentioned that. Tell me about your family, like your siblings. Are they also
mm.
saved?
So,
Parents? Because you
hmm,
said you didn't really grow up in a Christian
yeah,
household, but for some odd reason you always attended like that camp, which
yeah,
was low key or high key
yeah,
Christian camp. Which is interesting, because God works in mysterious
yeah.
ways. And your parents always sent you there. But
hmm
so tell me more about that.
Yeah, so my father, I'm Irish, so
Yeah.
the primary religion of
I
Catholicism is Irish is Catholicism.
Okay.
Um, so my dad was a little more on the Catholic side of things, but was very well versed in the Bible and understood it. And
Mm-hmm.
um, my mom, learned some from him,
Okay.
and then my sister did as well. But none of them. we didn't pray together. We didn't go to church. We used to go to church every now and then, but not consistently. And wasn't really like an important thing. I think maybe they might have taken it to the point of a relationship thing because upon talking to my mom more about it, she actually has mentioned to me how she prays like every night before she sleeps. So it's like I didn't know that, but that's her relationship with God. So I can appreciate the fact of that, but also at the same time, when you follow Christ, it calls you to live a certain way.
True.
And I don't necessarily agree that perhaps myself included, my family just in general, walked a Christ-like life.
Now you say that, right? You said your mom, because now this is actually interesting because now I want to see the differences, right?
Yeah.
So growing up African, right?
Yeah.
If our parents, all of us Christians, right? Growing up in an African household, right? If your parents were Christian and your parents going to church, everybody going to church. They put it down your throat. It's funny how you said that your mom was praying every night. And I remember growing up in my household, my parents' household, we'll all pray together as a family every night. My mom started this thing, my dad technically did. And when my dad wouldn't be around, my mom would take over. We'll pray every night, and even going to church, like Sunday, going to church, it was not optional. Tell me about like your family household and like Christianity. Was it like a thing of, did they force it down upon you guys, or was it a thing of, she just gave you the space to decide what you wanted to do?
So one, I think first off, that's great that your family's so involved in their faith. I think that's one of the strongest pillars to build a family upon.
That's very true.
And then in my family sense, it wasn't a thing that was practiced. But at the same time, it wasn't something that was neglected or not supported. So when I came to the idea of I need to lock in on this, I need to learn about this, I need to grow my relationship with God, they were all supportive of it and everything. So I think the initial concern was that I actually become like the Christians of this world, where it's like hypocritical and not loving like true Christians are. And upon finding that out and everything, like I just didn't let it derail me, because I knew my heart, and I knew I could feel God calling me to Him. And now that I've gotten so far in my relationship with Christ, and He's done so many wonderful works in my life, when I am home now, and we pray before every meal, and I get to lead us in prayer, right? We talk frequently about my relationship with Christ and all the wonderful things He's done to me, and they've been touched by the fact that I was baptized recently. So it's like necessarily, like, even though my parents are older than me, and I'm supposed to follow them and look to them, perhaps God has used me to be the one to lead them to God.
I knew a guy who was. I remember I used to go to a youth church. I used to go to this church back in South Africa. He gave his testimony. His name is Pastor Chase. So maybe Pastor Chase is watching this. But he gave such a powerful testimony where he said he was the first in his family to actually know God. And I don't know if he's the young. I don't think, no, he's not the youngest. But he said he was the first in his family. And once he knew God, once he got into a relationship with God, he was like, there is no way I'm keeping God to myself. I need to put my family on, because his family did not believe in God. They just lived life, like just normal, regular people. They didn't believe in God. They didn't have a relationship with God. So once he got baptized, he said he made it his goal actually to get his parents baptized, to get his sister baptized, to get them involved in the church. And I remember a few years down the line, you literally saw all of them at church. And it was such a beautiful thing to see. It was such a beautiful thing to see. And it reminds me of actually the verse in the Bible. I don't really know the specific verse, but it's in Joshua, the book of Joshua, and how Joshua said, as for me and my house will serve the Lord. When you look at today's families, right? This is actually a conversation. When you look at today's families, well, based on my observation, I would say, based on my observations, I feel like parents of today kind of like neglect that area, that, hey, if you're living in this house, we all serving the Lord, one way or another. Yes, fine. When you grow up, you can do as you please, because even David says it. It was David. When I was a child, I thought like a child, and I got older, I obviously matured and became the mature person I am. So, as a child living in your parents' house, you should be under the care of your parents and the relationship in a sense. But I feel like today, parents kind of just leave it in the open.
Mm-hmm.
And you find kids now, in a way, bringing their parents to God. Whether if you have your parents, whether if you have parents who are into God or not, or you do, you find kids who are like, okay, you guys never showed me God. You know, you guys never introduced me to, Jesus. We never did church. If we did church like Easter or Christmas. You know, you have those people who will say, okay, I've done enough church for the year. I only go to Easter, I only go to Christmas church services, and that's the church I need for the year. I find it so interesting, because I think about it in a sense of like you said earlier on, like having a family and having God as the foundation of that family is very powerful. And you have lived in America, right?
Yeah.
For all your life, basically.
Yep.
Tell me about that. Like, do you think that foundation is missing in a lot of families?